Hi, everyone. Welcome back to MIAC's Artist and Scholar Dialogue series, where MIAC staff and curators are speaking with different artists and scholars about their work, the impact the pandemic has had on their practice, and just to catch up and see what they've been up to in the past several months. My name is Lillia McEnaney, and I am an assistant curator at the museum. And today we're going to be speaking with Kathleen Wall, a completely fantastic sculptor, painter, and mixed media artist from Jemez Pueblo. Kathleen is MIAC's 2020 and 2021 MIAC Living Treasure, and we are currently putting together an exhibition of her work, A Place in Clay. The show will hopefully open to the public soon, dependent on our ongoing COVID restrictions, so stay tuned for more information on that exciting development by following MIAC's social media channels. Before we start chatting with Kathleen, I'd like to briefly acknowledge the place where MIAC is located, even though we are not physically at the museum today, in Ogopoge within the Tewa world. As a non-native person living in so-called Santa Fe, I am a guest in the ancestral homelands of the Tewa people, and I wish to acknowledge all of the native folks, past, present, and future, who walk on these lands. So Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to be catching up with you. So to start us off, for the viewers who maybe don't know you, why don't we start with a brief introduction, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, so hi everybody, and thanks for tuning in or logging on. My name is Kathleen Wall. I'm from Jemez Pueblo. I've been here off and on all my life, and then permanently about, I guess, since I was 24, 25, I settled down and here in Jemez. And my father is Ojibwe, so he's Woodlands, and my mother is Jemez and Laguna. So that's my mixture of nativeness. I've been working in clay since I was a child. My mother is a clay potter, Pueblo potter, and so were my aunties, and so they all contributed to my traditional knowledge in that field. And then I, of course, expanded. It's just something I really enjoyed and I love doing. So I embraced it in every aspect of my life. I worked, I guess you could say, the novelty shops when I was young. I made a lot of storytellers as a young person, and that's what I was taught as a young person from my mother and my aunts. And then so I did that for many years, and then I went to college at the Institute of American Indian Arts, and I just continued with just kind of open eyes, maybe trying to embrace other techniques and ways to express myself, and of course over time my clay work evolved from storyteller making to sculptures and some exhibit work, and throughout my life, throughout the entire time, I always was a circuit artist, not circus, but a circuit. This is referring to all the different markets that natives have, like Phoenix, the Herd Museum, Indian Market in Santa Fe. There's quite a few here and there. I did a lot more when I was younger, just little things like Coconino Center for the Arts and Pueblo Grand and the Red Rock Show and all these art markets. And so through all this time, we became the artists that are involved in these traveling shows, all became like this one big family. It's really fun to see everybody and travel. And so that's kind of basically the center of my work. I'm always looking forward to seeing my friends and family at these markets, and the clients that come, a lot of them became my friends. So that's probably the majority of my work, and the work I do sell at those markets have given me not only income, but a lot of, how do you say, it makes me feel at home. I'm really comfortable with the work I make when I go to art market. And then over time, I wanted to get into painting and do different types of exhibit work. So that led me into other types of art forms, a little bit of photography, a little bit of painting, a little bit of larger pieces, like the one behind me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me, and that's me.
So I wanted to back up a little bit to part of what you were saying. You mentioned the influence from your family, and I know you have been incredibly shaped by the work of your mother and your two aunts and your experience living with your grandfather. And I was wondering kind of how that interacted with the figures that you were talking about that you usually sell at market. So your lighthearted koshare figures, which came out of the tradition of storytellers. So can you kind of expand more about that side of your work?
Um, well, it's a family of five. There's five sisters, and so all those aunts all made storytellers, and my mother is part of those potters. And so, of course, you know that's what you grew up seeing every day. And they all went to different art markets, and so they drug us along as kids. So that's basically was in my head. This is what we do if you're going to be a Pueblo potter, this is what you make. You know, you either make a pot or you make a storyteller. And it was, you know, I'm a huge fan of storytellers. I have a nice collection of them. I think because I don't make them so much anymore, when I see one I really love, I just like to have them. So I think, you know, they gave me, my aunts and my mother gave me not only the ability to make the pieces, but the ability to financially support myself with these pieces. And and I know a lot of people don't. I don't know if people recognize this as something so important, but I wouldn't be an artist if I couldn't feed myself or pay my rent, or you know, I don't think I would have been a consistent artist if I wasn't taught those skills. And the skills weren't the skills aren't um, the best way for a young artist to start their career, because it's a great deal of rejection. But the way they introduced the work to me, the selling work, the selling part of it, you know, because I'm tiny, you know, and then they drag you along. My mom would drag me along to the different curio shops, and she'd have, like, you know, a basket. It's usually a basket with the pottery in there, and they'd ask for the buyer, and we'd ask for the buyer. A lot of them we knew by name, you know, Mrs. Goodman and, you know, Bob from Andrews. But anyways, and then we'd ask if they're buying or if they're looking, and then pull out the work and put it on the shelf or the table, wherever, and they would either take them if they liked the price, if they needed them in inventory. And so, like, over all this time, it gave me a real understanding of rejection not being personal, or not being not hurting my feelings. Like when people wouldn't buy my work, it wasn't a huge deal, because I understood inventory. I understood, and this is growing up. I understood that, you know, oh, this shop doesn't carry anything like I'm making. Why would they want to buy anything? It doesn't fit anything in here. Or, you know, so I kind of grew up understanding where my work might fit, where my work might sell. And then over these experiences, then when I was a teenager, I started doing the curio shops. Maybe about 15, 16 is when I started going out myself. And it's kind of crazy because you're all by yourself. Like my dad would drop me off. I probably maybe even a little bit younger, maybe 14. But one incident I remember, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I was living with my dad in Tularosa at the time. It's a little town down south. And Ruidoso is the nearest little, how do you say, tourist town, right?
Mhm.
So I would go up there with my basket of stuff, and my dad would drop me off on one side of the town, and I would just make my way through the whole, and I'm just like, I'd go to a shop and I'd look around and be like, I don't know if they, you know, if this fits my work or not. And then I'd ask for the buyer, And if they're in, I talk and, just show them what I had. And it wasn't pretty. I mean, I was 15, 16 at the time. So it wasn't like amazing work. It was just what I was taught and what I could do on my own. Because at this time I didn't have my mom or my aunts around me. I was living with my dad. And then what was it? I don't remember what my dad was saying, something about rejection. And then he was talking about how I handle rejection well, because maybe I didn't sell that day, or I don't really remember. But I was like, yeah. But it didn't bother me, it was a bummer not to make any money. But at the same time, I knew there's always someplace else, there's always another shop. And at the time, my pieces were so, I'd sell tiny little storytellers for like $5 each. So if I made $50, I'd make like, 10 of these, or I'd have some that were $10. And $50 to me was really great,
Yeah.
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I remember
and
one of the first times. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I just remember one of the first times we talked about this, you said that it was illegal to get a job, but it wasn't illegal to
Yeah,
to make pottery. And that's you kind of just ran with that.
I did.
Yeah.
Like having my own money. So that kind of led into, I didn't do art show. My first art show was public branded. I was 16, and I went with my dad and my stepmother. She wasn't my stepmother at the time. She was my dad's girlfriend. And so I tagged along, and I was at Pueblo Grand, and I only had maybe 2 small storytellers and a nativity scene. And it was so exciting selling that nativity scene. It was like my first piece at an art market. And it was probably the most exciting thing. I mean, even to this day, I remember, I'm just playing or, wandering around doing whatever. And my dad's like, Kathleen, somebody's looking at your pottery. And when I glanced over, my piece for some reason was on a real low, something like this, like really low to the ground. And the man and the wife, like lowered themselves to look at my piece. And I just always remember that, and I thought it was so flattering, them actually like looking at it, and then they purchased it. So it was really exciting, that one sale. And then, I'm hooked and start going everywhere. And then, then you don't have to worry so much about you do have to make more, because you have to have your own inventory, and then try to get stuff to the galleries, because it really keeps you going. I mean, the galleries helped me a lot as a young person, keeping my name relevant, and growing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd like to kind of talk now more about your newer pieces, your big, larger multimedia and installation works, what you often call your project pieces, that kind of engage in larger social or political conversations. Can you kind of talk about the genesis of that side of your work?
Gosh, it's hard to like pinpoint any of them, because I
Hmm.
mean, I honestly don't know where things come from when you start um, getting ideas. I mean, I'm always super impressed with other people's work when they do these really great, like, about something pieces. And I'm always like, God, how did they, it's amazing how they conveyed what they wanted to say. And I'm still struggling. I feel like a very young artist in this, even though I've had some exhibits and I've had a lot of success. I feel like I've had a lot of success. I still feel super adolescent in that company of exhibit artists and people that do this for a living, because I don't do this for a living. I would love to do it for a living, but I don't. I honestly do not know how to get a grant or get anything to help me, or I don't have any idea, or how people get paid for an exhibit, or even if they do get paid for putting pieces in shows. It's all like new to, I mean, it's not new to me, but it's completely unknown to me. So I just keep going. I just keep making stuff. And luckily I have enough support with my market work that supports the exhibit work. This particular piece behind me was an exhibit called Celebrating Native Legacies. And this was a lot of talk about contemporary Native and who we are. And what I did was I took an entire year to do this project. So it was a year that I was poor all year, of course. But this was 12 years ago. This was a really long time ago, this particular piece. It's actually coming on an anniversary of 12 years. I think it opened, oh my gosh, it would be amazing if it opened like today, 12 years ago. But my son was, I know it was in February.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it was in February, so or the beginning of February. And today's what's the date today? Like
It's
the
the
7th?
third. I
Is
think
it the
it's the
3rd?
third. Yeah.
For some reason, I have the 7th in my head. Maybe it opened then. But anyway, so it took about a year to make this exhibit, and it was 2 rooms. And what my goal was to just kind of embrace the fact that we're still here and very relevant, and we're not pretending, you know. So like all these splashes of Native American culture were true. And you know, the ladies behind me are singing some religious songs in Toa, and I had a video of them singing the songs behind the pieces. So there was like a video behind them, and so it was a lot of there was quite a few videos. There was 2 videos in the main room, and then in the smaller entry room I had homes. It was like homes of the past and people of today. So we had these like a teepee and a hogan and a Pueblo house, and inside the house were just regular, like, well, they're all my friends, because that's the thing about art. It's just like I'm such a social creature. I just collect all my friends to help me in everything I
Yeah.
do.
I mean, why wouldn't you? Yeah.
So I had all my friends videoed inside the house that they are part of, like the Plains Indians. They're all videoed, and they're just talking like their regular days. And it was nice for me because I thought it was beautiful there, you know, because I find a lot of beauty in Native people, especially like non-Pueblo people. I mean, I know I'm Pueblo, I was raised Pueblo, but I find so much beauty, and I'm like, I feel like a tourist sometimes when I go places because I'm so interested, and I'm just in awe of like what people do in their culture and in their daily lives and stuff. I forgot the question. I'm just going on.
No, this is great. I was just asking about your project pieces, so you're on the right track. Yeah.
So this project piece took a year, and it was challenging, of course, financially, because I couldn't get very much inventory for shows because I was primarily working on this exhibit. And then when it opened, it was really fun. It was just the funnest time to have that much work in one place, and seeing people talk about stuff. You know, it's you know, you open up dialogue for things that aren't always always acknowledged or taken for granted or something. And a lot of this stuff I talk about is pretty it's not too fierce. You know, I know a lot of artists are super fierce and super brave about what they talk about. And I mean, I would love to be that brave, but a lot of my work isn't extreme subjects. Like I talked about in Harvesting Tradition, I talked about Native food ways. So like how we used to gather and hunt and grow our food, and how we've changed over time, and how our diets have changed and navigated like the way we are now, and our health problems now, and just kind of this kind of imposed lifestyle, you know, that we all take part in because of the change in the diet and the change in lifestyle of not hunting and gathering and growing all of our food. So that was a really fun subject. But that one came about because of real, how do you say, health issues in my immediate family. Like my culture, everything was being affected by food as far as I was, seeing. So I was getting obsessed with eating right, and just I was going off the deep end. So it really helped to do the exhibit because it was healing to me, to where I was more accepting of lifestyle, and I was more accepting of things that there's nothing I could do about the way some people are going about the diets in communities, So by making the exhibit and putting my voice out there and trying to make it as pleasing as I could, I guess to say, I think I healed like myself. I don't know how selfish that is, because I
No, not
usually
at all.
for like everybody else to benefit from, but sometimes you need to just do things, to heal yourself or to help yourself understand what's going on and ways to navigate it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that sounds brave. So I wouldn't say that your work isn't brave. And I do think that that series in particular, Harvesting Traditions, I think it makes a really, really important impact because your work is visually very accessible, and then you kind of get at these more nuanced points in a way that does foster conversation. Yeah,
It
I think
doesn't
it's
look
lovely.
like that's what I'm talking about until you read the
Exactly.
text. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, well, I thought this was just a bunch of pretty work, and now and now I
Yeah.
want to go.
And that almost makes it more powerful and more brave. So I'm excited about it. And for those watching, a few of those pieces will be in the upcoming show at MIAC that will have kind of these koshare figures in conversation with these other project pieces. So to switch gears a little bit, I'd love to ask you how the pandemic has kind of changed your artistic practice and what you've been working on lately.
Okay, so yes, it's changed everything. The pandemic changed everything for so many people. So primarily, I'm a social creature. All of my work involves all my friends and family all the time. I don't usually do anything all by myself. I'm not that person that, ever tries to do anything all by myself. As I've been growing up, in the circuit, I actually recruited my best friend Penny Singer to be an artist as well. So now she's a super successful fashion designer. So we used to jump in a car and, go to a show. A lot of times we throw the kids in and drop them off at my mom's and do a show in Arizona and pick up the kids and come back. Or we'd have gatherings, at every art market, we'd have a gathering, or dinners, and it's just endless, endless social gatherings, and this kind of stuff drives you. It's just like, it makes you want to work. It makes you want to finish your inventory and pack it up and hit the road and have a great time with everybody. And without that drive, without that excitement, I could see a lot of artists just not being super productive. I don't know if I completely fall into that category because I worked really hard up until December 18th was my last day. I shipped stuff out for Christmas, and then I started working on paperwork because I'm a horrible paper worker. I don't do it. So I've been trying to catch up for a month, but I'm done today. I'm not done, but I'm so done. And today I'm going to start working in wet clay because I just can't handle the paperwork anymore. And so that has, a huge weight of loneliness on us. I can't say just me, because I know I'm not the only one. We all grew up doing this. I mean, when I started this, I was younger than a lot of my contemporaries, but you know, over time, of course, we all grow together. We were all so young, and we all grew up together and doing these shows, and you know, all the circuit shows are my heart. They really are. I love going to an art market. It's just reconnecting with my family, reconnecting with clients that became friends. So without those deadlines, it's been challenging getting bodies of work together. I usually have, a good display. I've done a few shows and they've all consisted of maybe 4 pieces. And it's like, and for me, that's not a lot of work. I mean, I think for the Native Treasures had the online thing, I had 3 pieces. And then it went into something else. I had like 3 pieces. Indie Market, I had a good Indie Market. I had a lot of work there because I worked real hard. I knew I needed to get this done. And then a couple shows after Market, I just had a few pieces, like 3 or 4 for each show. So there's not a lot of drive to get the work done. And then, with this exhibit going on at the MIAC, I was so excited. Everybody's like, yay, it's going up. And the few new pieces I made for it, I was real excited for them and real excited to get it all done. And then, right when we're ready to start setting up, everything closed down. And it wasn't like sad, it wasn't mad, it wasn't anything. It's just this passive kind of monotone.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you think about like exhibits, or you think about like what you want to do, it's not there for me. It's not like I can make a body. I don't feel this drive to make an exhibit type of work or a body of work, because I all this time I felt like, oh, I'll just go to the garden,
Yeah.
or make wet clay. I mean, I worked a lot in wet clay, like I said. And then, when I work on project pieces, I mean, that I still did my, because I do have a really good following, and I count my blessings for the career I've created and the following I have. I count my blessings, and my clients did not desert me during this time, and I had enough orders and stuff to maintain. But as far as like the fun stuff, like these guys here and things like that, I need people. I need people so badly. I thrive on my surroundings and a connection. When I was working on this exhibit, I had so many people recruited. It was just insane. I started the piece. I was 6 months pregnant when I started the exhibit. Wow. And so I have these really fun pictures of me just pregnant as all. And we traveled to Arizona, and I videoed some basket dancers, and I made these big sculptures and, portrait ish, of them, representation of them. And I traveled to Dulce, of course, and, did a piece about my nephew. And then these ladies, I actually pulled them out because I am by far the worst curator of collections in the world. And I think every artist probably is, I don't know. But I haven't taken very good care of them. And they're 12 years old, of course, but I think I need to get them to, I was thinking of the people that they represent, because if I keep them any longer, I'm afraid I'm going to break them. I have a storage on the south side of the village that has a lot of my exhibit work just stored away. And these pieces, I ended up getting, which one? Oh, this one right here. And I think the Grandma Rose one, they ended up getting wasp nests on them. So it was really crazy. So right on the hands, the wasps made these nests, and they're these little circle little nests, and they're made of clay. And that was just the weirdest. I was just blown away by them. So when I got them back to the studio, I just recently collected them so I could do something, because I don't want them to get broken over there or ruined anymore. So I put them under the water, and then the wasp nest just kind of melted away. I just couldn't believe they were holding these wasp nests. I was like, this isn't good. If this was any other collection, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Right.
So I do need to do something with them, and I figure the best thing is just to give them to the ladies they're representing, and they're all from here in Jemez. This one right here is my Auntie Lupi. She's and my mom was part of the video, and she sang, but I didn't have the energy to make. I think there's 2 more that are in the video, but I couldn't make that many sculptures. And so like it's like even this piece I recruited, these ladies were amazing. They came to my studio and they practiced their songs, and it was just the neatest thing, you know. And so they were here like repeatedly every week, and they're all practicing their songs. And then we went to like the Mesa area and videoed them singing, and it was just fun. And then the other pieces, of course, they all kind of were involving somebody. You know, we went to Cherokee, we went to Gore, Oklahoma, and we did some media with a stickball game. And I made, you know, the media thing with the stickball game, and I had a lot of pictures, and just really a lot of fun traveling around and kind of researching, but more so researching, just enjoying people, just enjoying the culture, and just enjoying the subject that I, you know, intended to create, or, you know. So that's an exhibit that just was all about people. And, you know, when I look at like harvesting tradition, you know, I did like the farmer. Oh, you guys are going to have that farmer piece.
Yep.
That's taken from a guy named David. And, you know, I'd visit him, and he'd talk about water and water rights, and the reason he travels from the city to the Pueblo to do his farming. Even though he lives in the city, he comes to the Pueblo because it's important that we don't lose water rights. And I thought that was just so neat. But, you know, that one piece involves a person and talking to them and learning about them and getting inspired. So without people, I feel like I'm crippled. I'm creatively crippled.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, I am kind of, how do you say, navigating my next piece. And so I'm going to be talking about, I guess, dual religion. And it's been inspired by the SAR exhibit. It's going up at the MIAC. What is it called?
The Vilchek.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I picked out one of my aunt's nativity scenes for my piece I'm writing about. And I'm doing the essay. It's called I Pray Both Ways. And so it's kind of just talking about how Pueblo people have embraced Catholicism, and but we didn't give up our cornmeal, or, you know, the different ways we pray. And so how it's kind of like integrating together. So what I'm going to be working on is a procession. And so it'll be like Pueblo people walking with the saints. And so it's kind of a look at the acceptance and embracing Catholic religion, and how we're still very much ourselves, and dressing the way we do, and dancing the way we do. And so that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm hoping to start, I don't know, in March, at the end of March. Today, I'm going to start some donation pieces for IAIA for the gala, if there is a gala. That's what cross our fingers.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a piece for that, and I'm really excited to start it. And it's been in my head, and I've just been, it's been rambling around in my head since last year, because I didn't get to participate in anything last year because there wasn't anything to participate in. But this particular piece, we're going to just be looking at, I guess the native resilience of all the arts over time. Oh, look at me, my hands are up like the ladies. I know. So that's what I'm gonna be working on as soon as I put all this paperwork away and start back into the clay. Look, I even have my nails done because I haven't been in wet clay. But that ends today. I think now that these are all cleaned up and ready to go to wherever they can live, because they living with me is not good. I have so much too. I have a lot of pieces in storage, and what do you do with it when you make these exhibits and you're not making them to sell? You're not making them to take to a market. You're making them because you want to make them, and because it inspires you, and you're excited about it. But then when you're done with the piece, or when you're done with the space, you just kind of wrap it up and take it to storage and leave it there.
Yeah. So I think what you said about the connections, like you're obviously a very social creature, and so these connections that you make at different art markets, and the herd was kind of, I think, the last thing that a lot of us did, right? And I remember coming back from the herd, and then immediately it was like COVID hit. So, and obviously everything with the market scene has changed a lot, like you've talked about. So I'm wondering where you kind of see the larger world of Native art moving as a result of this past year.
Gosh, it's a horrible
Big question.
It's horrible to think of it not positive. It's hard for me to think of it as not positive. I mean, when I have this like, when things get back to normal idea in my head, but and then when I tell my brother, he's like, there's never gonna be normal again. And I'm just like, no, I need some normal. I need normal right now.
No,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
It's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to I don't know where the markets are going to go. I don't know which direction the market's going to go. I don't know where. I mean the markets like the Indian market and the herd and those the archery, the markets that take us places and introduce us to people and take our work places that wouldn't normally be. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how long the internet ones are going to be viable. I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in online shopping anymore. It's not that fun. It's not as going to the show and connecting with the artist and purchasing something for somebody or your house or just having those experiences. So the galas and the dinners and the auctions and stuff. I hope, and I seriously hope that it comes back. And I have a lot of optimism that it will, primarily because I don't think that people can do without it. Yeah. I think there will be a way. It will be created. A way will be created to get back, or and if it's not get back to normal, it's going to be something. It's because I'm not the only social creature. I think so many of us are, and it's just so hard to navigate life by ourselves and and behind a cover. And, you know, it is hard, and it's a sacrifice we all have to make right now in order to be okay later. But, you know, I think I have I have hope and optimism that it's gonna be okay. I don't know.
I would agree with you. I think it's people are gonna find a way to make it work. Um, so I think that's a great place, a hopeful place to end our conversation. Thank you everybody for joining, and thank you, Kathleen, as always, for taking the time to talk.